I never imagined I'd be in this situation, but here I am, 12 weeks pregnant and more stressed than I've ever been in my life. I'm Lily, 28F, and I've been married to Adam, 30M, for about 2 years now. We met 6 years ago at a mutual friend's barbecue. I remember being drawn to his easygoing nature and infectious laugh. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of obscure indie bands and terrible sci-fi movies. Our relationship progressed quickly after that. Within a year, we were living together, and a year after that, Adam proposed during a weekend trip to the beach. It was perfect, just the two of us, the sound of waves crashing, and a beautiful sunset. We got married in a small ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. Everything seemed like a fairy tale. I should probably mention that Adam comes from a very close-knit family. They're the type that has Sunday dinners together every week and celebrates every minor holiday as if it's Christmas. At first, I found it endearing. My own family is much smaller and more spread out, so the warmth and togetherness of Adam's family was a nice change. When we first moved in together, Adam's mom, Carol, 55F, would stop by once a week with homemade meals or to help with laundry. I appreciated the gesture, even if it sometimes felt a bit intrusive. Adam's sister, Megan, 32F, lived just a few blocks away and would often pop in for coffee or to borrow something. It was all manageable then, and I tried to embrace the family-oriented lifestyle. Fast forward to now. We found out I was pregnant about a month ago. We were overjoyed. We'd been trying for a baby for about 6 months, and it finally happened. In our excitement, we decided to host a small dinner party to announce the news to our families. That's when the trouble started. Since the announcement, Adam's family has been showing up at our house almost every day. His mom, Carol, comes by in the afternoons to help with housework, which usually means rearranging things and criticizing my cleaning. Megan drops in unannounced with her kids, turning our quiet evenings into chaotic playdates. Even Adam's dad, Tom, 57M, who used to be content staying at home, now finds reasons to visit regularly. The problem is, I work full-time as a software developer at a demanding startup. I'm often coding until late in the evening, and I don't get home until around 6 p.m. most days. Adam works similar hours as a marketing manager for a large corporation. The real issue is that he keeps inviting his family over for dinner without checking with me first. And guess who's expected to cook for everyone? That's right, me. I've always enjoyed cooking. It used to be my way of unwinding after a long day. I'd put on some music, pour a glass of wine, before the pregnancy, of course, and lose myself in chopping vegetables and experimenting with new recipes. But now, it's become a huge burden. I'm exhausted after work, dealing with morning sickness that lasts all day, and the last thing I want to do is come home and cook for 6 to 8 people. Adam doesn't seem to understand how draining this is for me. He just expects me to whip up meals for his family at a moment's notice. When I try to explain that I'm too tired, he'll say something like, "Can't you just throw together a quick pasta dish?" As if feeding a crowd is no big deal. I've tried talking to Adam about this multiple times. I've explained how tired I am, how the constant visits are stressing me out, and how I need more time to rest. But he doesn't listen. He just says, "They're family, Lily. We can't turn them away." It's like he's completely blind to my needs. The situation is starting to affect my work. I'm falling behind on projects because I'm so exhausted all the time. My team leader has noticed and asked if everything was okay. I didn't know what to say. How do you explain that your husband's family is driving you to the brink of a breakdown? Last week, things came to a head. I had a particularly rough day at work. We were launching a new feature, and there were last-minute bugs that needed fixing. I didn't leave the office until 7 p.m., and I was feeling especially nauseous. All I wanted was to crawl into bed with some crackers and ginger ale. Instead, I came home to find Adam's parents, sister, brother-in-law, and their 2 kids all sitting in our living room. The kids were running around, screaming and knocking things over. Carol was in the kitchen, rifling through our cupboards and complaining about our lack of proper cooking utensils. Adam was lounging on the couch, beer in hand, looking completely relaxed. When he saw me, he cheerfully announced, "Look who's here. I told them you wouldn't mind whipping up dinner for everyone." That was the last straw. I lost it. I snapped at him, saying, "Then you can cook for them," and stormed off to our bedroom. Adam followed me, furious. He accused me of being disrespectful to his family and embarrassing him. We had a huge argument where he said I was trying to come between him and his family. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All I wanted was some peace and time to rest during my pregnancy. The next day, I packed a bag and went to stay with my parents. They live about an hour away, in the same town where I grew up. Being back in my childhood home has been both comforting and strange. My mom, 59F, has been wonderfully supportive, making sure I eat properly and get enough rest. My dad, 61M, is quieter about the whole thing, but I can tell he's worried. It's been a week and Adam has barely reached out. He sent one text asking when I'm coming home, but that's it. No apology, no acknowledgement of my feelings. I'm starting to wonder if he even cares that I'm gone. I'm at a loss. I love Adam, I really do. When it's just the two of us, things are great. He can be thoughtful and caring, and we still make each other laugh. But I can't handle this situation anymore. His family is constantly in our space, and he seems to care more about their feelings than mine. I'm worried about the stress affecting my pregnancy. My doctor has already commented on my elevated blood pressure at my last checkup. But I also don't want to break up my marriage. The thought of being a single mother terrifies me. Am I overreacting? Should I just suck it up and deal with the constant visits? Or am I right to stand my ground? I could really use some advice on how to handle this situation. I feel like I'm at a crossroads, and I don't know which way to turn. Update 1, it's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. Your comments really helped me gain perspective on the situation and gave me the courage to take action. After spending a week at my parents' house, I decided it was time to face the music. The distance had given me some clarity, but I knew I couldn't hide forever. I called Adam and asked if we could meet at a neutral place to talk. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe near our house, a place where we used to have weekend brunch dates before all this drama started. When I arrived at the cafe, Adam was already there. He looked tired and a bit disheveled, which was unusual for him. He's typically very put together, always dressed sharply for his corporate job. Seeing him like this made me realize that the situation was affecting him too, even if he hadn't shown it before. The conversation was tense at first. Adam was still angry about how I disrespected his family. He brought up the night I snapped, saying his mom had been hurt by my behavior. I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm. I explained how overwhelmed and unsupported I felt. I told him about the physical and emotional toll of working full-time while pregnant, then coming home to cook for a crowd several times a week. I reminded him of our life before we got married. How we used to have quiet evenings together, trying out new recipes or binge-watching our favorite shows. I told him I missed that connection with him, that it felt like his family had taken over our lives. To my surprise, Adam actually listened this time. He admitted he hadn't really considered how difficult it must be for me. He apologized for not being more considerate and for accusing me of trying to come between him and his family. He said he'd been so excited about becoming a father that he wanted to share every moment with his family, but he realized now that he'd gone overboard. We spent hours at that cafe, talking through our issues. It reminded me of our early dating days when we'd lose track of time just talking and laughing together. By the end of our conversation, we had agreed on some ground rules moving forward, like, no more surprise dinner guests. If Adam wants to invite his family over, he needs to discuss it with me first. If we do have dinner guests, Adam will be responsible for cooking or ordering takeout. We'll limit family visits to once a week, giving us more time to ourselves. Adam promised to be more attentive to my needs during the pregnancy. I felt cautiously optimistic as I moved back home. For about a week, Adam stuck to our agreement. He even cooked dinner one night when his sister Megan came over, and he made sure she left at a reasonable hour so I could get some rest. It felt like we were finally on the same page. But then, one evening, everything fell apart again. I had a particularly stressful day at work. We were behind schedule on a major project, and my boss had been breathing down my neck all day. I was looking forward to a quiet night in, maybe a warm bath and some Netflix. As I pulled into our driveway, I noticed an unfamiliar car parked in front of our house. My heart sank. When I walked in, I found Adam's mom, Carol, sitting in our living room. She had a stack of baby magazines on her lap and was talking animatedly about nursery designs. I looked at Adam, silently pleading with him to remember our agreement. He looked guilty but said nothing. Carol announced she was staying for dinner and started critiquing our house, saying it wasn't baby ready. She went on about how she had raised 3 children and knew exactly what we needed to do. I reminded Adam of our agreement, but he just shrugged and said, "It's just my mom, Lily. Don't make a big deal out of it." I felt betrayed and angry. All the progress we'd made seemed to evaporate in an instant. I excused myself and went to lie down, leaving Adam to deal with his mother. I could hear Carol's voice drifting up from the kitchen, talking about how sensitive pregnant women can be and how Adam needed to be patient with me. It took every ounce of self-control not to march downstairs and give her a piece of my mind. Later that night, after Carol had gone home, we had another argument. Adam accused me of being too sensitive and said I needed to be more accommodating to his family. I countered that he needed to respect our agreements and stand up for me. I reminded him of everything we'd talked about at the cafe, but it was like he'd forgotten it all. The argument ended with Adam sleeping on the couch and me feeling more alone than ever. I lay awake most of the night, rubbing my slightly swollen belly and wondering how things had gone so wrong. The next day, I called in sick to work. I couldn't face my team in this state. I spent the day researching pregnancy support groups and therapists in our area. I knew I needed help to navigate this situation, whether Adam was on board or not. I'm starting to wonder if this marriage can survive. The stress is affecting my health, and I'm worried about the baby. My morning sickness, which had started to subside, has come back full force. I've lost weight instead of gaining it, and my doctor is concerned. I've decided to schedule an appointment with a marriage counselor. If Adam won't go with me, I'll go alone. I need to figure out what's best for me and my baby, even if that means making some tough decisions. I love Adam, and I want our marriage to work. But I'm beginning to realize that love might not be enough. I need a partner who respects me, supports me, and puts our little family first. Right now, I'm not sure if Adam is that partner. Thank you all for listening. I'll update again when I have more news. Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and I wish I had better news to share. The situation with Adam and his family has only gotten worse, despite my best efforts to salvage our relationship. After the incident with Carol's surprise visit, I went ahead and booked an appointment with a marriage counselor. I told Adam about it and asked him to come with me. He reluctantly agreed, but on the day of the appointment, he called to say he couldn't make it due to a work emergency. I was disappointed but decided to go alone. The counselor, Dr. Martinez, was a kind woman in her 50s with a calm demeanor that immediately put me at ease. She listened patiently as I poured out my frustrations and fears. She gave me strategies to communicate more effectively with Adam and set boundaries with his family. She also emphasized the importance of prioritizing my health and the baby's well-being during this stressful time. Armed with this advice, I tried once again to talk to Adam. I waited until we were both relaxed one evening, sitting on the porch swing we'd bought when we first moved in. I explained how his actions were affecting me and our unborn child. I told him I needed his support and understanding. For a moment, I thought I was getting through to him. He nodded along, squeezing my hand and promising to do better. But then, a few days later, everything fell apart again. I came home from work, exhausted as usual, to find our house full of people. Adam had invited his entire extended family over for a pre-baby celebration. There were at least 15 people crammed into our living room, including young children running around and making noise. I spotted Adam's Aunt Susan, who I'd only met twice before at family gatherings. She was holding court in our kitchen, loudly proclaiming that she'd brought her famous casserole because she wasn't sure if I'd be up to cooking for everyone. Adam's cousins had taken over our TV, arguing over what game to play on our console. Carol was leading a group of relatives on a tour of the house, pointing out all the things that needed to be fixed before the baby arrived. I was overwhelmed and felt a panic attack coming on. The noise, the crowd, the implied criticism of my homemaking skills, it was all too much. I retreated to our bedroom, trying to calm my racing heart and quell the nausea rising in my throat. Adam followed me, demanding to know why I wasn't joining the party. When I reminded him of our agreement and the stress this was causing me, he exploded. He accused me of being selfish and said I was ruining his joy over becoming a father. He said his family had always been close-knit and I was trying to change that. The argument escalated, with both of us saying hurtful things. In the heat of the moment, Adam shouted, "If you can't accept my family, maybe you shouldn't be part of it." Those words hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized then that nothing was going to change. No matter how many times we talked, no matter how many agreements we made, Adam would always prioritize his family's wishes over my needs. I packed a bag right then and there, ignoring the concerned looks from Adam's family as I walked out the door. I couldn't bear to go to my parents' house again. I didn't want to worry them any more than I already had. Instead, I called my sister, Emily, 34F, who lives about an hour away. She immediately told me to come over. I've been staying with Emily for the past week. She's been incredibly supportive, helping me process everything that's happened. She even took a few days off work to be with me, distracting me with silly movies and late-night ice cream sessions like when we were teenagers. I've decided to take some time apart from Adam. I need to focus on my health and the baby's well-being. I've asked Adam not to contact me for a while, and surprisingly, he's respected that wish. The only message I've received from him was a brief text asking if I was safe and if the baby was okay. I appreciated that he asked, but it also hurt that he didn't seem to care about my emotional state. I'm now 18 weeks pregnant and starting to show. Emily went with me to my latest doctor's appointment, holding my hand as we listened to the baby's heartbeat. It breaks my heart that what should be a joyous time has turned into such a nightmare. I'm considering my options moving forward, including the possibility of separation or divorce. It's not what I wanted, but I have to do what's best for me and my child. I've scheduled another appointment with Dr. Martinez to help me navigate this difficult time. I'm also looking into legal advice to understand my rights and options. Emily's friend is a family law attorney, and she's offered to give me a free consultation. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm trying to eat well, get enough rest, and stay positive for the baby's sake. Emily has been amazing, helping me set up a small space in her guest room as a temporary nursery. We've been shopping for maternity clothes and baby essentials, trying to focus on the joy of preparing for the baby's arrival rather than the sadness of my current situation. Thank you all for your continued support. Your kind words and advice have been a lifeline during this difficult time. I'll update again when I have more news. Update 3. It's been 2 months since my last update, and I'm now 26 weeks pregnant. A lot has changed, and I wanted to share the latest developments with you all. After spending 3 weeks at my sister's place, I realized I needed to make some permanent decisions. I couldn't keep living in limbo, especially with the baby on the way. I reached out to Adam and asked if we could meet to discuss our future. We met at the park where he proposed to me. It seemed fitting somehow, to come full circle to where our journey together began. The conversation was difficult, but necessary. Adam seemed different, more subdued and reflective. He told me he'd been doing a lot of thinking while I was gone. To my surprise, he apologized sincerely for his behavior. He admitted that he'd been so caught up in his excitement about becoming a father that he'd neglected my needs and feelings. He said he'd had long talks with his parents and sister, and they all realized how overwhelming their constant presence had been for me. Adam shared that he'd started seeing a therapist on his own, which honestly shocked me. He'd always been skeptical of therapy, saying it was for weak people. Hearing that he'd taken this step on his own showed me he was serious about changing. He asked if I would consider coming back home, promising things would be different. He said he'd set clear boundaries with his family, limiting their visits to once a week and always with advance notice. He also promised to take on more responsibility around the house, including cooking when we have guests. I was cautiously optimistic but still hesitant. I told Adam I needed more time to think about it. I went back to my sister's place and spent the next few days weighing my options. Emily was supportive but cautious, reminding me to put myself and the baby first, whatever I decided. After much consideration and discussions with my sister and Dr. Martinez, I decided to give our marriage another chance. I moved back home last week, and so far, Adam has been true to his word. His family hasn't visited once without calling ahead first. When his parents did come over for dinner last weekend, Adam cooked the entire meal himself. It wasn't perfect, the chicken was a bit dry and the vegetables overcooked, but the effort meant a lot to me. We've also been attending couples counseling together, which has been helping us communicate better and understand each other's perspectives. It's not always easy, and we've had a few heated moments during sessions, but we're both committed to making it work. I'm cautiously hopeful about our future. The baby is due in about 3 months, and I'm starting to feel excited again rather than stressed. We've been working on the nursery together, and it feels like we're finally on the same team. Adam has been much more attentive to my needs. He's been coming to all my prenatal appointments, asking questions, and taking notes. He even signed us up for a childbirth class, something I never thought he'd be interested in. His family has also made efforts to respect our boundaries. Carol called to apologize for her behavior, admitting she had been overbearing in her excitement about becoming a grandmother. She asked how she could support us better, which was a huge step forward. I know we still have a long way to go, and I'm staying vigilant to ensure Adam continues to respect my boundaries. But for now, I'm choosing to focus on the positive changes and hope for a brighter future for our little family. Thank you all for your support throughout this difficult journey. Your advice and encouragement have been invaluable. I'll post another update after the baby arrives. Wish us luck.